What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new TFD video, coming at you with the most disgusting Freyna loadout. Now, before I get into the video, I would like to thank all the peeps who helped out and put up with the leveling process. Believe me, you guys are awesome. To be honest, without you, this video would not be possible, because the leveling process in this game is a massive slog and needs a major rework. Even with an XP booster, it took ages. So, thank you. This is a disclaimer for people who are about to see this build and all the mods, components put into it. This took days of farming during several hour-long streams, so expect this to be a heavily invested build. When I say heavily invested, I have 8 catalysts on her. Yes, I know, I have a problem. Shut up. But all of these were necessary to make this build possible. Now, what type of descendant is Freyna? She is an area control character with great ad clear and superb damage over time capabilities. To understand her more, let me go over her abilities, starting off with her passive. Contagion Links. Freyna increases her toxic skill power modifier when enemies are inflicted with poison, so damage from weapons and her abilities will increase her outgoing damage. Now, before I go into her abilities, there's something about her kit that people don't get. She has 3 abilities that trigger an effect called Room Zero Trauma, and the other ability applies Venom Soaked. To put it simply, Room Zero Trauma is literally her unique toxin damage over time effect. That's it, it's just a fancy name. While Venom Soaked is just a status application type of debuff that spreads poison damage. Starting off with her first ability, Venom Trauma. Freyna throws a projectile that leaves behind a toxic puddle that deals damage over time, triggering the Room Zero Trauma effect. Simple as that. While her second ability, Defense Mechanics, coats Freyna in a toxic armor that increases her defenses and reflects poison damage when enemies attack her. This is from both melee and ranged attacks from enemies directly and not from their AoEs. This also causes the Room Zero Trauma effect to trigger. It's a decent additional survivability to her kit, but you're not a tank. You will die if you take massive hits. Putrid Venom, her third ability. Unlike the others, this doesn't trigger Room Zero, but applies a new debuff called Venom Soaked. First, the ability. You drop a toxic puddle for enemies to walk into. This is more like a trap and something to help spread damage. Enemies who step into this puddle will be Venom Soaked and will spread poison puddles along with them. While this effect is on them, it will continue to deal damage over time, and it synergizes really well with her first ability. And her fourth ability, Venom Baptism. You equip a unique weapon to Freyna that deals pure poison damage and triggers the Room Zero Trauma effect. This weapon is its own unique archetype with a fixed fire rate and scales with skill boost and elemental damage modifiers. Now, all of this sounds pretty decent, but what if you want Freyna to add on to her abilities with explosions? Not with explosive weaponry, by the way, but her own abilities, by using a skill module that augments her Room Zero Trauma abilities. Contagion. This pretty much causes all your abilities that trigger Room Zero to trigger AoE toxin explosions that also trigger more Room Zero for more explosions for an endless cycle of damage. Now, where to farm this? You can get this from Dead Bride in hard mode difficulty only. That's the only place you can get this.
Yo, Prage. There's...
Yes! Yes! I'm free!
There it is, boys. Oh my god.
For more synergy that adds onto Freyna, I have the Fallen Hope Ultimate Assault Rifle. This rifle was made for Freyna. Taking a look at its unique ability, on hitting an enemy affected by poison, it increases your weapon's base damage. At rank 1, this only gives you 10% additional damage. But here's the fun part. When defeating a poisoned enemy, that enemy will trigger an explosion, and that explosion has a chance to trigger poison on enemies. And this is a 30% chance to trigger at base. So you pair Contagion with Fallen Hope, you're gonna get a massive chain reaction of explosions. This weapon is easily farmed as you're doing your campaign, right when you reach White Knight Gulch, making this a best in slot weapon for Freyna if you're thinking of investing into her. Now that you understand how she works, let's take a look at how I've modded her. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are at the build section. And Freyna needs new skins. Like, her skins are not that great. Just saying. So let's start off with our Reactor. It's the toxic skill bonus with the tech skill bonus, because Freyna's first and fourth ability are tech based, and the first and fourth ability all trigger the room 0 trauma effect, so it was better to go for the tech bonus. On top of that, the third ability, that, you know, the little splooge, that also is tech focused. My substats are not great, but it took a bit to get this exact role, with Fallen Hope as the mounting condition, because if I have the Fallen Hope mounted, I get the 160% bonus. Now, my components, these are also really important, because this synergizes with the build and my main weapon. This is the Venom Essence set, which you can get from Swamp Walker hard mode only. Let's read the set bonus. The 2-piece set gives you toxic skill power, which is always nice to have. But take a look at the 4-piece set. Tactical rifle and assault rifle. That means this is affecting Fallen Hope. You get your firearm attribute effect trigger rate increased. So remember that 30% that your Fallen Hope has at rank 1? Because remember, you have to rank up the Fallen Hope several times, meaning craft another Fallen Hope, shove it into a Fallen Hope to increase the trigger effect. But this set bonus gives me an additional 12% without even having to rank up my Fallen Hope. However, for each poison stack inflicted upon an enemy, my firearm attack increases by 2%. And my skill power also increases for 5 seconds at a 30% chance. And this stacks up to 10 times. That's pretty damn good. And this is easily done. Like with one cast of ability, you max out your stacks. So this set bonus pairs with her passive and also pairs with her main weapon, the Fallen Hope. Taking a look at the Fallen Hope real quickly, you can see right here, I did try to roll for decent subs. I did manage to get gold crit and weak point damage. Now the fourth one, I was unlucky because I ran out of those little, I forgot what they're called. But you know, the things that you use to re-roll the stats. The nice thing I like to have are either bonus rounds, so increasing my magazine, or even a bonus element. And that bonus would be nice to either have chill or toxin, because let's say I'm fighting a different type of boss and they're not weak to toxin, so I need to mod for certain elements to make that work. But at least I have the bonus elemental damage, so I can trigger the effect at all times without needing the element modded onto the weapon. Quickly taking a look at the weapon build, I do have my base damage leveled up. This gives me a 32% firearm attack, but I also have this one, Toxic Conductor. When attacking enemies inflicted with poison, I also get bonus base damage. I have my weak point damage, crit chance, and crit damage. So I have all these decent stats added onto this weapon, making this a bit more consistent with its damage output. Unfortunately, investing in a weapon requires a lot more than a Descendant. This is more than enough to do all the content that's available right now. And yes, you can even use this against bossing. But unfortunately, you will not get the bonus explosion. Now, onto that Freyna build itself. The Descendant modules. Okay, this is a lot of modules, all leveled up. And yes, this does require a lot of investment, a lot of time, a lot of gold, a lot of Kuiper, which, I did test out a few mod combinations and found that this was the better setup. Now also, pay attention, I'm not modding with skill insight for crits because Freyna has 5% base crits, so that's horrible. So even though when she crits, it's really nice, but we just don't have the space to fit in crit because we need all the other modifiers. HP defense, your usual. This is great for survivability, but if you want some more skill power and some more funnies, I did level Iron Defense just to test things out a little bit. You do lose a bit of defense, but you gain some skill power modifier. So if we take a look at the second ability, the defense amount is at 50%. So even if you equip this, you will notice that it's still at 50%. It doesn't go up any higher. Now, the main things I wanted to focus on, besides increasing my toxic skill power and my tech skill power, was skill duration, range, and cooldown reduction. Because for one, range is super important on Freyna as it allows you to spread a lot more. So right here, I have skill extension and frugal mindset. Both of these increase my range, while frugal gives me skill cost reduction, paired alongside strong mentality for some additional skill cost reduction. This reduces the amount of mana that you have to use because you're going to be spamming abilities here and there. Not as much, but to the point where you want to recast certain abilities for even more damage. Now, duration and skill cooldown reduction is really important for the fourth ability. ability. This has a massive cooldown of 110 seconds. So with my skill cooldown reduction, I managed to bring it down to 51 seconds, which is decent enough. And you need duration so it can last longer. The newest mod here is time distribution, which reduces the skill cooldown and also grants me some HP for some additional survivability. Just because she has her second ability, Freyna is not a tank. She doesn't have a massive health pool as well. So she needs a decent amount of survivability just so she can keep up. She doesn't have the speed to avoid enemy bullets, so she has to be very tactical about her positioning, placing her poison fields and her abilities while also using her second ability to gain that additional defense. Otherwise, it's a very simple loadout. You throw down your abilities and things go boom. So let me go to a mission and show you some gameplay loop. So I'm going to come to my favorite spot, which does have a decent amount of enemies, and it's pretty simple to set up. You throw down your third ability, you're going to see all this toxin goop everywhere. It's going to kill enemies right away. Very powerful. And all these enemies are weak to electricity. First ability, you see how it explodes? Everything dies. All these enemies are going to come and walk over the gloop. And you see how they're spreading all the toxin everywhere? And enemies affected by toxin take more damage from my weapon. All right, enemies are spawning here. Just throw that down there. And they're just going to die. Very destructive. Let me activate my second ability and my fourth ability. Look at that. Blowing everything up with my fourth ability. All right, goop. First ability goop. There you go. Look at that. Oh, let's not sit there and die to the explosions. But yeah, everything that walks in here will just die with even more explosions. This is an elite unit. Gonna throw down my 3, my 1. And look how we're gonna deal even more damage to it. Avoid these explodey boys. Everything is just dying. Look, they're all dying from this side of the world because they shot me, and my second ability is spreading that contagion effect. 3, 1. Elite unit is dead. Let me reload here. Elite unit dead. Now, this is not bunny levels of explosions, but still, if you like having a weapon platform type of descendant, then Freyna is insanely good. You saw how my weapon just blew things up? Yeah, because they're affected by toxin. All right, so they have the toxin effect on them. Oh, they didn't explode. That's unfortunate. There, that was a little explosion from the Fallen Hope. Triggers more explosion. My second ability's on. It's spreading the toxin to them. Oh my god, that is satisfying. That is satisfying. Put my 1. Look at that. You see that? Just so much effects. My 4 is up. Let's activate it. Unfortunately, it does have an annoying cast animation, so you just have to deal with it. See? Explosions with my 4th. So if you love toxin explosions, then Freyna is your gal. Look at that. Boom. So yeah, folks, this is the Freyna loadout. I do hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it, because if you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more First Descendant content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace. And yes, stay tuned for the Glay and VS guide, which I'm planning to release after this Freyna video. And it might take a bit because I still gotta farm some more mods, level up newer mods. So if you really do enjoy these videos and they help you understand the game a bit more, so yeah, show some love, come on over to the stream, have fun, and we can all jam together in mindless grinding. Peace. Bye-bye now.